You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Brisbane and beyond.
Hello, you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez, I use he, him pronouns.
And I'm Kai, and I use they, she pronouns.
And yeah, we talk about amplifying the voices of trans members in our community around Mianjin and beyond. And like we normally do on Transmission, our very first segment of the show is what's happening in the local area and events that our beautiful trans queers out there might like to attend. And we also talk about some news, things that are happening around town, maybe in our country, state, Brisbane, and so on, or what's happening for trans people everywhere.
Yeah, this universe.
This current time.
Timeline.
Oh, no, you're going to get me all existential. Let's not go there. All right. Okay, so first, let's talk about some events.
Okay, we've got All My Thoughts, an evening of folk at the Junk Bar in Ashgrove on Sunday, 19th of February at 5:15pm. Join Frunky Bush Poetry and Junebug for an evening of folk. Think small guitars, harmonica, maybe a banjo, and some yodeling. $10 tickets, 5:30pm start for an early Sunday night bedtime. Oh, that's very considerate of them. And that's June, our own beloved June.
Our little Junebug here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not so little, but still Junebug.
Yeah, you would have heard their voice just at the top of the show with our intro.
Yes, you hear June's voice throughout. Also, in events, is K Tempest. So, at the Brisbane Powerhouse in New Farm on Tuesday, 21st of Feb, which are the doors at 7:30pm, Handsome Tours are delighted to announce the return of award-winning British spoken word performer, poet, rapper, novelist, and playwright K Tempest to Australia and New Zealand in 2023. Returning in the wake of the release of their new album, The Line is the Curve, and follows previous acclaimed visits to our shores in 2016 and 2020.
Yeah, they're really cool. I've enjoyed their work and their novels.
Also, it'd be great to see them at Powerhouse. Excellent venue, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good acoustics.
Yeah. Good acoustics. News. Yeah, so The Sims 4 expansion has trans-inclusive top surgery body scar options, as well as shapewear. You can wear a binder. It's also got a bunch of other customization options for hearing aids and other medical aids and stuff like that. So that's really cool. It's part of the base game, so you don't need any kind of expansion or anything to get it. Under the body category. Yeah. All players can find a body scars category with an option for teen and older male Sims, masculine or feminine frame, to add top surgery scars to their Sims. Yeah. It's pretty good. I'm having weird flashbacks to being on Z Games now, talking about gaming things in the news. Yeah. But that's great. It's super exciting. We also have some other big news, which is that Australian actor Zoe Tarix becomes Marvel's first ever trans actor. Apparently, I believe Zach Berrick was the very first trans actor in a Marvel Cinematic film. It's yet to we're yet to understand whether or not it's because they're playing a trans character, or if it's going to be a main trans character. All shall be revealed in due time, I'm sure. We're not super clear on that yet, but this is very exciting, and there'll be the main character, I believe, in Ironheart, which is, I guess, wannabe Iron Man character. I'm not a huge fan of Iron Man, so I'm making it. I'm not really selling it here. But yeah, so that will be on, some streaming service that, where Marvel is. I also, I've been wanting to say this for the past month and I haven't been on, but congrats to Bella Ramsey, who is the star of The Last of Us and was also on, was it Game of Thrones? Yeah, Game of Thrones, that's right. For coming out as gender fluid. If you've seen any of the articles, they mostly use she, her pronouns, but I think they're using all pronouns. So good for them. Yeah, really cool. It's really, really cool. Also because, not that you, Kai, have watched Game of Thrones. No, and I won't. But, that's cool, you don't have to. But Bella Ramsey's character, it was just absolutely badass. So I did hear that. This very beloved character. Yeah, so. I did hear he was pretty cool there. Yeah. Also, Kim Petras. Oh, yeah, grats. Yeah. Congratulations, Kim Petras, for being the first trans woman out. out trans woman.
Out trans woman to win a Grammy. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I think she won it with Sam Smith for like the best pop.
With Unholy, I believe.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of what the actual award was. It was for the best collaboration. Yeah. But it's very important to note that it's not the first trans woman or trans person to win. It's just the first out, because Wendy Carlos won 3 Grammys in 1969 for Album of the Year, Classical, Best Classical Performance, and Best Engineered Recording. And then she later came out in the 70s as a trans woman.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so she's the one who wrote the score for The Shining and also Clockwork Orange.
Look at this. Getting news and some history.
Yeah.
Extra segment we can add to the show. That's really cool. Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably loads of other trans artists out there that have won awards that are not out. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. You don't have to come out. We'll be here for you when you're ready. And you can tell us about all the Emmys and Grammys and
then we can
all the things that you've
celebrate
won. Yeah, we can celebrate you. That's right. Amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community of Meanjin, Brisbane and beyond.
Transmission on 4ZZZ brings you the latest in trans community news, music and events.
Every Tuesday from 9am till 10am.
Join our team of hosts for an hour of celebrating the unique perspectives of the trans community.
Transmission, Tuesday mornings from 9am till 10am on 4ZZZ. You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns.
And I'm Kai, and I use they, she pronouns.
We just got a text in from Malcolm before we went to some music, and we're talking about Bella Ramsey, who's just come out as a non-binary person, and they played Lyanna Mormont on Game of Thrones, in case you were wondering. Yeah, Malcolm. So yeah, congratulations again to Bella for coming out.
Yeah.
We are now about to have a discussion with Necho. Hi.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
I was just gonna... hold on. I'm just fixing up your microphones. I'll give you this one here.
Hello.
There we go. That's
Nice.
better. All right.
Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
Community radio.
Yeah, that's
Just
it.
quickly, what pronouns do you use for the listeners?
I'm Necho, and I use she, her pronouns.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be talking about activism and how you can be involved and what that all entails, particularly for trans people, because, activism and what that means as trans people means that pretty much all of us are doing it all the time.
Yeah,
definitely. Even if we don't think that we are, or that, we're like, I'm just going to...
Oh, yeah, just
away.
Existing is rebellion and activism at this point. So.
Yes, existing is a form of activism. So I want to, start the premise of our conversation around that we are all activists in our own way all the time as trans folk, because that's the nature of the beast that we live in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think when you're saying that too, it's like we don't... activism, it doesn't exist just sort of in one path. It's like things change when everything's changing, and we're all working on that together. And I just like the way that you kind of framed activism, because I think that's important.
Yeah. Necho, would you like to share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Necho. I am a trans and gender diverse support worker, and I am also a policy worker. Last year I organised in terms of activism, last year I organised a protest in support of the Births, Deaths and Marriages 2022 Amendment Bill, and that was awesome. Heaps of people turned out, and I think mainly we had a lot of support, which was so good. And then I helped write a submission to the Births, Deaths and Marriages Amendment Act recently, and then this last month I spoke at the public hearing for that, so that was a really big learning experience and an overall great experience. Yeah,
that was really exciting to see too.
Yeah, and I was everyone from the community that I spoke to seemed happy with it, so that was a great result, is if the trans community is happy. And I've also been writing a chapter for a friend that I just finished, so just a lot of writing this year.
Yeah,
wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all of us, just trying to do a lot at once.
It's really cool with particularly with the change of policy and everything with the birth, death, marriage, because Kai and I actually were present when the Attorney General Shannon Fentiman was putting that through as well.
Yes, I saw that actually.
Yeah.
I saw that online. It's awesome.
So it's really exciting. I mean,
it's further proof that activism, getting out and you know, us raising our voices is working.
Definitely.
So that's really cool. How have you found yourself, like, you know, with organizing a protest and stuff, you know, like, how do you get to that point where you're like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do? How have you decided to do activism in the way that you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've actually learned heaps in the last 6 months, and I think just getting to that place where realizing that we're the experts was huge for me, because you know, you have a bunch of people in Parliament or in different organizations making these really big decisions about our community, and we're in a crucial time, right? This is sort of Queensland finally stepping up and giving us some legal capacity, and a bunch of people that are cisgendered are predominantly making those decisions who have no understanding of gender diversity or you know, the importance of prioritizing lived experience of gender. And I think it just clicked with me oh, wait a second, we're actually the experts of that because we live it every day, and yeah, we know that, so we should have our voices heard. And it just seemed like a good time to kind of take to the streets and really try to get the word out there. And you know, it was, I guess that protest too was in wanting to show our strength and sort of our resilience, because IWD were doing so, we're having so much hate speech for our community and saying these things that are so far from the truth. It was well, let's actually show you the people that you're talking about, you know. And yeah, it just seemed like a good time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it humanizes, and it also shows anyone that might be on the fence, oh, okay, these are
totally, yeah,
these are the real people that are actually getting affected by it, and they're not that scary, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have a friend who's you know, I think I have a non-trans friend who thinks that, you know, trans people aren't that scary. I don't understand why just meet them, just talk to talk to these people. Also, there's a very high likelihood you've met trans people out there and you don't know it.
Exactly.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Our ability to chameleon and blend in, you know, passing is what, you know, we commonly call that in our community. Passing is it is a privilege to have passing, to be able to pass and blend in, but it is also quite a large portion of trans folk out there do pass. And they're you know, we do fall into binary systems because we can, and that doesn't necessarily mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is definitely not something that trans people should be aspiring to. And that's a big part of why totally. You know, activism and getting out and making sure our rights are fought for, as well as that we are together, fighting back together and raising our voices together to show that we exist and we deserve to be acknowledged in our existence.
And I think it's pretty complex, right? Because I've been thinking about this heaps recently, and it's passing for a lot of people is safety. You know, it's being able to have a job. It's being able to still maybe engage with family or friends or support services that they need. But then it's also I think it's always surpassing, never just passing. It's you know, as trans people, we're making this space to experience and feel through our gender authentically and honestly, and without sort of the violence of gender norms that are put onto us and all these things that, you know, many people take for granted or never think about. We have the opportunity and the chance to really work that shit out. And I think I'd never want to just pass being cisgendered, but then I also understand why people do it. I think it's complex.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think and passing can be a safety thing until you're outed, you know, if you're passing and then people realize that, you know, you might not be cis, that can then that safety can disappear. But then also how does a non-binary person pass, you know, without passing is non-binary, it's a whole, it's still a very binary kind of concept. And, you know, part of trans activism is that, you know, these binaries are also reductive,
Yeah, and they're harmful. I mean, the reality is too, when we talk about, you know, air quotes now, you know, men and women and the binary of that, is that they're harmful on so many levels. And that's the main fight that, you know, I believe that trans folk, that we want, is that we want this concept, the construct of binary torn away. Because that's actually that's the toxic thing. That's also the thing that is trapping men into this idea of what a man is and trapping women into an idea of what a woman should be. They're non-trans people are oppressed in their own ways. They don't know. Trans people can see it because we've lifted the veil from our eyes. So that's the power we have here.
And then you see that, like, you know, TERFs are online policing femininity and being like, and assuming that, like, you know, a masculine looking woman or something is a trans woman, and they've done that about, like, sporting people that are actually cis women. You know, like it's just such narrow, you know, little boxes of what anyone is allowed to be and what anyone is allowed to look like, and it's restrictive for anyone, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have like a binary, it's you place such a hierarchy of like two genders, when it's like, you know, for me, when you say like it's not about a binary, it's not about having a problem with cisgendered men and women, it's about making sure that there's no hierarchy over the many other genders that exist. Well, that's how I see it. And like,
completely agree.
Yeah, I think that sort of when you were like sent through those questions before that were all awesome, I was like, it made me realize, to me, so much of trans activism and allies, like, what's the first thing that needs to be done is like for everyone to put in the work to like unpack and actually understand their gender.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever they arrive at is important and valid, but it's like to actually understand that stuff and to like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
well, there's a saying that June has, which is, there's only ever real women and cis women.
Yes. Oh, this is June Jones, right?
Yeah. No. June from Transmission. Our June.
Oh, okay.
June
I think June Jones also says that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Both Junes. We'll quote them both.
I want to start saying that.
But, you know, like there's, you know, real women and then cis women in the sense, and what we mean by that is that for people who actually take a mirror and look at themselves and try to really understand what they're feeling in their body and what would make them feel who they are authentically, and really have a process of self-reflection and understanding of self.
Yeah, did you spend years agonizing over, you know, what your gender was, or did the doctor tell you when you were born, you know, like...
Did your mum give you that name? But it's kind of like, I don't know, I think there's also elements of, you know, when we have the process of self-reflection, particularly for trans folk, there's like, I spent like 5 years before I felt comfortable to truly come out. And then for someone to just be like, you're just confused, to me, you know, it's like, I spent 5 years thinking about this. I told you 5 minutes ago. What makes you think your 5-minute thought comes even close to the process that I've gone through to understand myself? So don't you dare tell me what I am.
And that goes back to like someone who's never thought about gender properly or doesn't understand what cis trans even is there telling you like, wait a second, you're not really trans. It's like, no, that's like, we're the experts at that.
Yeah.
And that's like...
Yes, exactly. We are qualified.
Yeah.
You can get qualified if you need to, but, you know. But no.
My name is Georgie Stone, and you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ.
My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns.
I'm Kai, and I use they, she pronouns.
And I'm Nico, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Bill, and I use he, him pronouns.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Yeah, good. I've come in, I've hijacked your show, but look, there's something that workers are getting behind that I thought that you and all your listeners would be very, very excited to hear about it.
No, I'm excited. I already know. So now I want you to share it.
All right. So there's a flying going around the traps. There's not an official announcement, so it's a bit of a scoop here, right? That the Queensland unions are organising an International Working Women's Day rally and march on Saturday, 11th of March at 10 a.m. at the Emma Miller Place. And so the reading is there's quite one particular word that the wording that note well. This is an inclusive IWD event that welcomes trans women and non-binary folks.
Yeah, nice. There we go. Progress.
So we see the word inclusive there, but non-exclusionary. Is that the right term? Is that...
I
That's
find,
one of them.
I mean, it's basically saying inclusive, really.
Yeah. It's good
Yeah.
that they specifically say non-binary and trans women are welcome, because that does need to be stated.
Yeah.
And also, I've also heard it on the grapevine that the sex workers union Respect have been involved in the planning. So,
Awesome.
Amazing. That's
so
really cool.
yeah, put that in your diaries
When is
for
it?
now. 11th of March.
11th
10
of
a.m.
March.
10 a.m.
No swerfs, no turfs.
That's it.
Love it.
I only like surf and turf, not swerf and turf.
I also I love to see, for those listening in black and white, the flyer is actually using the oh god, what are they called? The suffragettes' colours.
Oh, really?
Which is like the white, purple, and green, which is normally like red flag for IWD and TERFs and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that being reclaimed.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you so much,
that's-
accomplice Bill from Workers' Power.
That's right. Yeah, you can tune in from me or from me at 10 a.m. But I'll better leave you to it. I don't want to take up too much of your
Thank
time.
you so much for the scoop,
You're
Bill.
welcome. Great
You're
news,
awesome.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is great news. Yeah, you can catch Bill from Workers' Power at 10 a.m. every Tuesday morning after transmission. Bill has an excellent team, and they're all about... They're the union show,
And what
Yeah.
great news. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's so great news. Yeah, getting the scoop. I'm into that.
Yeah.
You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. We're all about amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Mianjin and beyond. And we've been chatting with Necho, who is a trans activist who works in support work and does lots of really awesome things. Is busy all the time. And I'm so grateful to have you in studio. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We're going to keep having a chat a little bit about how cis allies and Bill from Workers' Power, who's just left the studio now, he doesn't refer to himself as an ally, he refers to himself as an accomplice.
Yeah.
And I really like that concept, because it's well, no, I'm not just casually supporting you when you come up in conversation, trans folk. I'm actively going to rallies.
Yeah.
I'm participating. I'm trying to find ways to be inclusive, and even though I don't know everything, because it's not my lived experience, I'm willing to shut my mouth and listen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love what you say about that, because to me, allyship is not something that you just arrive at or achieve one day, right? You don't just automatically call yourself, oh, now I'm an ally and I get this label. It's it's something you have to do every day, because allyship for every trans and gender diverse person looks different. So it's yeah, if you're going to say that you are, do it every day.
Yeah, it should be a verb, not a noun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing this thing. You're not just saying this thing. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something you do.
Oh, I love that way of describing it. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so when I think about allies, I think about people who actively correct other people when they mistakenly use the wrong pronouns,
Yeah.
and that's not just in front of my face, but also when I'm not there. So I don't know. What's some good examples of allyship?
I mean, showing up, protests can be really scary for trans people,
That's true.
It can be scary for anyone. Protests can be full on, but if you're there protesting for your own personal rights, it's a risk for you, so show up and not only show support, but help be a buffer for any pushback that you might get.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is there a way that allies can show solidarity?
Well, I think I said it before, and it's definitely what I've been thinking about recently, which is really first really put in the work to understand your own gender. And I think that when you come from a place of that understanding, you can maybe understand and support trans people in a different way. And I think from there you need to be vocal, right? What we're all talking about. I think that people need to have those hard conversations when we're around or when we're not around. And yeah, to me, it's not enough just to show up. It's this is a crucial time for our community, especially in Queensland with what's going on. We know we've got heaps of TERFs, and I think make sure your allyship is about having those hard conversations, but then also learn about trans love and trans community and trans history and trans strength and how we show up for each other, and then make sure that your allyship includes all those things, because trans youth and TERFs and people who don't know our community, they need to know those things. They need to know the good just as much as they need to know the bad.
Yeah.
Maybe the good even more.
Yeah, trans joy.
Learn what gender euphoria is and what gender dysphoria is. I don't want activism or allyship or anything just to be one. It needs to be both.
There's there's two sides of that experience, you know, like trans euphoria. Trans euphoria is like, it's the best thing. It's the best thing ever. And everyone, regardless of whether you consider yourself trans or non-trans, euphoria is an experience everyone experiences within their bodies.
Totally.
Yeah, like when my mum gets some, cis men to help her, move something around, and then she's like, "Oh, thanks, young man," and they're all like smiley.
Woo.
Yes.
That's gender euphoria, you know.
Or
and
when
it's also kind of hot.
it's also that moment when someone says, "Oh, you're really pretty," or like a compliment that compliments you in like the way that affirms your gender. So like if someone says to me, "Oh, you're a handsome young man," I'd be like, "Oh, thanks, thank you very much." Or it can also be moments that you have with yourself. You know, like some people who may be having like struggles with maybe something physically with their body. You know, maybe like exercising or something, and reaching a goal, and then reaching that goal, and then looking in the mirror or whatever that is, and going, "Huh. Wow, I feel better. I'm feeling..." That's euphoria. That's euphoria in your body. You're having an experience that's positive around your body. It's euphoric. And it affirms to you who you are in your flesh, in your skin. You know, so that's what all trans people are seeking. We're seeking the euphoric experiences of our bodies. We're seeking the freedom to express our euphoria anywhere, because that's who we are. We should be able to do that anywhere.
Totally.
So, yeah. I'm just going on a big rant this morning. So.
Oh, I love it. Like that's a small part of being trans. Is like we're all off ranting sometimes. I think it's important.
Yeah, well, I love coming in here and ranting every week anyway, so it's great.
We all deserve to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you listen to the show, like we talk about so many different like trans actors, trans artists, trans activists, trans academics, you know, we're all about showcasing trans talent and trans excellence, and it's everywhere, you know. And I knew it was everywhere, but since doing the show, we're doing some really amazing stuff out there. So just,
and so are you, Necho. Like we're all doing great things out there and
but like keep engaging with that kind of stuff, you know. Go and look up the books we talk about, or you know, anything. Like I think that's part of it.
And you can keep helping us doing the things that we're doing on Transmission every week by subscribing to 4ZZZ. Subscribe. You know, we're a not-for-profit organisation. We are 99% run by volunteers.
Yeah, and so many of them are trans. Like we got so many beautiful trans people here, on air and behind the scenes.
Show solidarity for the trans community by subscribing to 4ZZZ. So head over to www.4ZZZ.org.au/subscribe. Make sure you select Transmission as your favourite show. Obviously. And also you can listen back to all our, you know, podcasts and everything. You can head over to our socials at Transradio with a Z. Just doing like really early plugs, and I don't even need to, but I'm doing it. Yeah, but you can support us. That's how you can do that. Oh, it's been an excellent episode chatting to Necho in studio here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It really has been awesome.
It won't be the last time.
Yeah, for sure. Oh. Hope you have a wonderful week out there. And if you'd like to listen back to anything else that Transmission's been doing, you can head over to our socials at Transradio with a Z. We've got a link to our podcast there, photos of what we look like in studio, what we're doing, get the inside scoop. And we put posts up as well of some of the events and things that we chat to. So yeah, head over there. On that note, we will see you next week. Bye.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Transmission. See you next Tuesday, 9 to 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ.